Hi, we are Team Jinza, and we'll be presenting on how LinkedIn users make effective decisions. So, what is LinkedIn? Many of you here will be familiar with LinkedIn, a platform that is primarily used for professional networking and career development, and allows job seekers to post their CVs and employers to post jobs. Users interact with each other on LinkedIn with the intention to widen their network and get noticed by larger entities. What sparked our team's curiosity was a question that was very relevant to us. How can LinkedIn users make decisions to generate the most benefit for their career, network, or businesses? But first, we have to acknowledge that users on LinkedIn are non-homogeneous. Different types of users exist on LinkedIn, be it brands, employers, or students. Their posts also differ in terms of content and value. In our investigation, we will be approaching the question in two sections. In the first section, we account for the fact and assume a general model that users on LinkedIn follow when either posting or responding to a post. At the end, we consider how different user profiles may deviate from this general model. In our general model, the players are the posters and respondents. They play a sequential game where a single poster moves first, followed by R, which represents a typical responder in the poster's audience. When a poster moves first, they have two options, to post or not to post. If they do not post, the game ends until they decide to post. If they post, a responder can decide to respond positively, not respond at all, or block the user. In our analysis, we realized that a poster's potential payoffs tend to be dependent on their outreach. Users with a larger following can reach more potential employers, indicating a higher likelihood of getting their ideal job. When responders respond to their posts, the posts appear on the responder's feed as well, allowing posters to gain outreach to the responder's followers. We observed that posters' motivations can be simplified to their intrinsic motivation of posting on LinkedIn, as well as their image-related motivations. From a case study on Twitter done by Tubia and Stefan in 2013, it is appropriate to model a Twitter poster's intrinsic utility proportionate to their audience size. In the case of LinkedIn, because of the greater importance of one's image and its influence on posters' decisions, our team made the decision to simplify the equation and model a poster's image-related utility as their social approval score multiplied by their reputation score, a numeric representation of their outreach. The overall utility function is represented here, where B represents intrinsic motivation, theta P represents their image-related utility, and C represents the cost of curating the post. A responder's payoff is dependent on different factors. On LinkedIn, a responder is incentivized to respond to popular posts to ride on the poster's outreach and their payoff. In this game, there is a clear strategic interdependence between a poster and a responder. A poster benefits from the image-related utility received from positive responses, and a responder also benefits from the outreach of the poster. For our general model, we assume that a poster will always gain a payoff of a constant intrinsic motivation B, minus the cost of posting C. A positive response will give the poster an additional payoff of 3 times the poster's reputation score P. However, if the responder chooses to block, the poster incurs an additional cost of 5 times the poster's reputation score. These values are arbitrarily chosen as the cost of a responder blocking should outweigh the gain of a positive response. From this graph, there is a clear dominant strategy for a poster to post as long as the intrinsic benefit outweighs the cost of making the post. In response to this, a responder would then choose the optimal reply to the type of post to maximize his or her payoff X.
Thank you, Joshan. And we will now be moving on to prospect theory, analyzing how posters and responders make decisions based on it. As mentioned previously, the utility of a poster is measured by the social approval or disapproval that results from his post. We use this reputation score as an approximation of their influence, which is calculated from the number of followers, likes, and replies that he has. When a user has greater reach, more respondents are likely to see the post, leading to the sequential game occurring multiple times for different responders. This effect can then be summarized as a multiplier on the payoff of a single sequential game, assuming respondents are uniform in their behavior. Referring to the study on Twitter, most users of social media derive more image-related utility than intrinsic utility. However, since LinkedIn is a platform mainly used for professional networking and job seeking, posters on LinkedIn mainly post for image-related utility. Additionally, we cannot assume that reciprocity is automatic nor immediate, and posters must also contribute content to increase their responder or follower count in addition to the following activities. After each round of posting, the current reputation score changes. This is the poster's utility function, and we see that posters are risk-averse past the reference point but risk-seeking before it. since the marginal gains or losses from followers responding to a post decreases with increasing responders. These gains and losses are felt more acutely near the reference point than farther from it. Since posters are loss averse, they will overweight small probabilities to guard against losses even if they might be unlikely, such as responders blocking the poster. Hence, posters will avoid discussing controversial content. An example of loss aversion on LinkedIn is posting about failures on the platform. These are examples of posters sharing stories about being let go from their jobs or having trouble finding jobs. We tend to see these less often on LinkedIn since the action of posting about failures falls on the loss domain. Posters find it less risky to show one's achievements or post about new jobs, and even stories about failures are usually told by those who survived and can wear it as a badge of honor. This also ties into how social factors can affect decisions of posters and responders on LinkedIn. I will also share some suggestions on how LinkedIn users can exploit functionality on LinkedIn to better their career opportunities. We know that it is more likely for content on LinkedIn to center around positive achievements because it is less risky to do so. Indeed, from simply glancing through profiles on LinkedIn, we can commonly see Forbes 30 under 30 recipients placing their achievements as part of their header description on their profile. It is also common among our USP peers to share about achievements such as the USP Honor Roll. These achievements serve as a social signal, accrediting some level of skill and professionalism. We then aim to find out how social environments influence the decisions of posters and responders on LinkedIn. For posters, by posting and sharing about achievements, posters are more likely to think that they are exuding a more favorable impression, and the perceived social approval from listing our achievements will increase, leading to an increase in theta when it comes to posting about achievements. In addition, responders like recruiters or hiring managers are more likely to respond positively to such achievements. For example, if they deem the poster's skill and achievements are a match to jobs available, they could offer them a job opportunity. Since the posters increase the positive information available through sharing their achievements, this makes the recruiter's job easier and increases their payoff when responding positively. As more positive responses accumulate, there is a further multiplier to the effect to the total utility of the poster, and as more and more responders celebrate and share the achievement, P increases, resulting in an increase to the total social approval score.
Thanks Mei-Xuan for the explanation on prospect theory and social approval. I am Didymus, and I will present on how group identity can contribute to social pressure on LinkedIn. As mentioned by Mei-Xuan, it only makes sense for posters to share achievements. This could come in the form of adding licenses or certifications, or asking for endorsement from past colleagues. This will help increase social approval. However, from Getcher and Ferrer's study in class, we know that merely increasing social approval will not be as effective as increasing both social approval and creating a sense of group identity. Thus, including a group identity treatment on LinkedIn increased response. Turns out, LinkedIn found that employees are 14 times more likely to share content from employers, and that 30% of a company's engagement on LinkedIn are driven by employees. This suggests that responders are more likely to respond positively if they share a group identity with the poster. These are examples where employees reshare, comment, and like posts from posters with which they share a common group identity. Combining the social exchange treatment and group treatment, a suggestion we have for LinkedIn users is to consider posting about achievements that are recognizable by a group or community. To find such communities, users can exploit the LinkedIn Groups feature to join a group of like-minded individuals on similar career paths, to post and seek responses there. Now I'll be passing the time on to Jovin.
Thanks Didymus. I'm Jovin and will now discuss how LinkedIn users learn from their previous actions by using EWA to make better decisions. One decision that posters must make is what kind of content they should post. People post all sorts of different content on LinkedIn, ranging from technical content to anecdotes and sharing achievements. So how can we model this using EWA? First, let's take a look into the variables of EWA. The weight of the foregone payoff likely varies across individuals, so we won't make a generalization on its likely value here, as studies have been inconclusive on how much weight the average person gives to foregone payoffs. However, we can infer something about the value of the discount factors phi and rho by modeling it as the rate at which trends change. LinkedIn trends tend to change very slowly, hence a low discount rate. Posters may not discount their past experiences as much, since what worked in the past is likely to continue working in the future. Now, we can use these variables to model a common scenario for posters on LinkedIn. Suppose a content creator always posts anecdotes on LinkedIn and is considering if he should start posting a different kind of content, such as memes. EWA would use these two formulas that we've seen in class. The denominator and discount factors should be the same for both strategies, so we can focus on the reinforcement levels of each strategy. If a poster has been posting anecdotes, the reinforcement level for anecdotes will be much higher than other types of content such as memes. In order for a poster to start posting memes instead, the payoff for memes will have to be very high since its reinforcement level of the previous round is low. We can actually observe this phenomenon in real life, as many posters on LinkedIn tend to consistently post the same type of content due to the high reinforcement level for the current strategy. Here are two examples of this. The account on the left posts mostly promotions, while the account on the right tends to focus on posting advice on office culture. In that case, what would cause a poster to deviate and post a meme instead? When a poster can capitalize on a recent viral trend in the news, the payoff for posting memes may be especially high, as many people can relate to this trend. The high payoff offsets the low reinforcement level of the previous round, such that the poster would be willing to deviate from their usual serious content to post a meme. One example would be Squid Game, which became the most watched series on Netflix last year. Free Code Camp, which mostly posts technical content, immediately capitalized on this trend with a more light-hearted post on a Squid Game theme. And ASAP Studio, mostly focused on web development and programming tutorials, also posted a more informal Squid Game meme. Overall, EWA could explain why LinkedIn users tend to find a niche and focus on a specific type of content. A poster will gain followers that enjoy the content that they post, hence their usual content would naturally have a higher payoff, contributing to their tendency to keep posting it. Similarly, this can be extended to post timings. If a poster usually posts at the same time every day, their followers may come to expect this as a routine and only come online at that time. Posting at a different time may cause a fall in engagement, as their followers are not online. As such, the payoffs for the current strategy tend to be especially high, while payoffs for other strategies tend to be much lower. This makes the effect of EWA much more significant and influences posters to find a niche in both content and timing. I'll now pass the time back to Didymus, who will take us through Level K thinking from LinkedIn posters.
Thanks, Jovin. I will now be going through the section on Level K thinking from LinkedIn posters. We wish to investigate if LinkedIn posters exhibit Level K thinking. To do this, we decide to only look at posters, framing post creation as a game. We recognize that there are many different types of posters on LinkedIn, ranging from job seekers to thought leaders. For our analysis on Level K thinking, we assume the following. 1. Posters within each group compete with each other to gain the outreach. 2. All posters, no matter their group, aim to get the largest possible outreach for their posts. 3. Each individual poster only posts once a day. We find that posters on LinkedIn, under our assumptions, do exhibit Level K thinking in their post timings. We model the posting game as follows. Poster P1 and poster P2 are competing with each other for the same audience. If P1 posts at a different time frame from P2, P1 and P2 will get the full share of outreach available at the respective time frame that they posted. After all, the audience will only see each one of their posts. However, if P1 posts at the same time frame as P2, P1 and P2 will get an equally split share of outreach available at the time. The audience will have to see both their posts, but will only have time to read one. We produced a ranking of outreach available at each time frame of the day. Combining the ranking scores into the game matrix, the pure strategy Nash equilibrium will be evening-afternoon or afternoon-evening. A level 0 poster would randomize his or her post timings. So a level 0 poster will equally likely post at any time of day. In response to a level 0, a level 1 poster would post in the afternoon, which would yield the highest expected payoff of 3.75. A level 2 player would respond to a level 1 player by playing evening, since playing evening would be the best response to a level 1, who will play afternoon. A level 3 player would respond to a level 2 player by playing afternoon, since playing afternoon would be the best response to a level 2 player who will play evening. Here, we see that for every k, as long as k is greater than 3, the outcome of the post timings will be alternating between the two respecting pure strategy Nash equilibrium, that is, evening-afternoon and afternoon-evening. Indeed, for LinkedIn posters, it is recommended to post around lunchtime, which is in the afternoon, or immediately before 5 PM, which is evening. Given that the average level k falls between level 1 to 2, this result is consistent with our analysis.
Thanks, Didymus. I am Aloysius, and I'll now be speaking about time inconsistency. To consider how the rewards and costs of posting on LinkedIn may vary across time, we must first look at the utility function described earlier. Firstly, are these rewards and costs delayed or immediate? Intrinsic motivation, B, is immediately received at the time of posting. However, social approval, theta P, is only received in the future. This is because the post must first gain traction and engagement, and interaction from other users will stream in over time. For the cost of posting, C, this is incurred immediately. The poster must first put in effort to ideate, create, and edit their content before the post can be created. What about the values of these rewards and costs? We assume intrinsic motivation to be constant throughout the week. Social approval varies depending on the total outreach from posting on LinkedIn on any given day of the week. As discussed previously, we find that the two natural equilibria take place at the two periods with the greatest outreach. For simplicity's sake, we will assume that the posters are split equally across the two equilibria, and we will take the average outreach. As for costs, the opportunity cost of creating a post can vary. This depends on how much a poster values the other things they could do on a given day. A salaried worker may have little opportunity cost of posting during work hours. In fact, they could be posting on LinkedIn to procrastinate their real work. Meanwhile, posting on a weekend would sacrifice precious leisure time. Thus, we can argue that opportunity costs would be higher on weekends. Here are values for intrinsic reward, social approval, and cost as described earlier. The values for intrinsic reward and cost are estimates, as it is difficult to weigh the value of these unknowns relative to our known social approval. We estimate beta at 0.83 as per Ogdenbeck and Rabin, but we will also consider an individual with a beta of 0.5. In either case, the poster must post on Sunday, as they would want to post at least once a week, so as to avoid losing traction or followers. So we conduct backwards induction for both types of posters. Working backwards at each stage, we find that the poster with beta of 0.83 has the following strategy, resulting in them posting on a Thursday. This conclusion is valid for both sophisticates and naives. The poster for beta of 0.5 procrastinates more and ends up posting on Friday. Again, this is true for both sophisticates and naives. So, what implications does our conclusion have? To motivate oneself to post earlier, it may help to make rewards more immediate. As Ella will discuss, this can involve rewarding oneself. Alternatively, one can realign their priorities and increase the value of intrinsic motivation relative to social approval. This would already apply to those with a genuine interest and desire to share, such that they are less likely to procrastinate. Additionally, LinkedIn features like live view count and statistics can bring the rewards of social approval forward into the present and allow social approval to be felt more immediately.
Thanks, Aloysius. Our discussion so far has been based on the assumption that we are looking at generic LinkedIn users. However, in reality, LinkedIn users come from all walks of life and could have very different types of profiles. LinkedIn users could be undergraduates, employees, domain experts, or influencers. Of course, this is a non-exhaustive list, but we chose these profiles to focus our analysis on because they are the more common types one would typically see on LinkedIn. Now we're going to see how these player profiles might behave differently under different circumstances using a few of the concepts we have seen so far. Firstly, students and experts are affected by social pressure to different extents. Students tend to keep up with each other by observing post trends as they estimate their payoffs to be similar. Hence, they perceive their social approval to be higher and are more likely to be affected by social pressure. On the other hand, experts will want to differentiate themselves from other similar experts, so if one were to take cues from other experts, their reputation would be diminished since they will be less likely to be seen as the leading expert. Hence, experts have a lower perceived social approval and are less likely to be affected by social pressure. For the level K thinking analysis, consider how employees could in reality be more restricted in terms of when they can post content. In this example, employees avoid posting during the morning and afternoon during their work hours for fear of being perceived as less productive at work, thus leaving them with fewer options for when to post content. Using the same payoff values as before, employees could actually end up in a situation where they end up posting in the same period, in this case lunch, because even if they were to split the payoffs with other posters, the payoff of 2.5 that they would get would still be higher than the next best alternative, which in this case is posting in the evening with a payoff of 2. This is the case when a level 1 employee responds to a level 0 employee, and so on. Lastly, how could different profiles adopt different strategies to address their time inconsistency? For students, they are more likely to collaborate and impose penalties if they do not stick to their commitment. For example, they could buy their collaboration partner a meal if they do not meet the deadline set for themselves, which is actually an idea that is being implemented in a student initiative called Project Polaris. Experts, on the other hand, may not even stick to a regular posting schedule if they are the kind that only post when they have important points to share with their followers. To take advantage of this to address their time inconsistency, these experts could try to plan ahead and draft content early, which will mitigate the cost of them posting when a good time arises. To sum up, we've looked at various factors affecting and explaining how LinkedIn users make effective decisions in generating the most benefit for themselves. We hope that these concepts and ideas will too help you make better decisions on LinkedIn that will boost your career prospects, or at the very least help you better understand the underlying motivations behind LinkedIn users' behavior that you might see. We are Team Ginger. Thank you for listening.